Pirelli GT4 America wraps up its triple header weekend here in the Florida sunshine at Sebring International Raceway with race number 3 of the weekend and just 2 races to go at the conclusion of this hour-long slugfest. It has been a wild and rolling weekend with duels aplenty throughout this field of GT4 machines, with 3 class championships still to be decided with a handful of races to go. Greetings from Sebring, Florida. My name is Ryan Marine. It's a pleasure to have your company. Calvin Fish is alongside. It's Amanda Busick down in the pits for us as we get ready to go. Championship pictures starting to come into focus and some rough and tumble racing over the last couple of days. Clean race number 1, incident-filled race number 2, but both were full of fireworks.
Yeah, so many great battles, championship scenarios. We saw the AM title get decided yesterday. Following up on last year, Charlie Poston and James Clay winning that for Bimmer World was still 3 rounds to go. But for the others, Pro-Am Silver, everything up for grabs here today.
That's a look at the Handley Motorsports Toyota Supra that has been a revelation here this weekend. No surprise to see the pace from Parker Thompson, who gets the start here in this Sunday race, but his teammate, Dan Handley, this has been a breakout weekend for him.
It really has. I mean, holding on to that win with the makeup race that we had here on Friday evening is really a boost to his confidence, recognizing that he can get the job done. So he's going to rely on his teammate to try and hand the car over in the lead. That's not going to be easy, but we know that Parker Thompson's really displayed great pace here this weekend, and then maybe cut and pace what they did here on Friday afternoon.
A second ago, we were looking at the Random Vandals BMW that Kenton Cook will start. Last night, he might have had the move of the season. We call it the Random Vandal, going from, what, 3rd to 1st in the matter of a couple of corners?
Incredible on that final lap of racing that we had here yesterday. So, yeah, it was a wonderful move. He said, I don't know how it happened. I call it racer's instinct. Right place, right time. Got it to the inside, and just the seas parted, as he said, and they grabbed the win. An unlikely one after the bump that Kevin Boehm took earlier in the race.
This is a car that featured towards the front yesterday, Flying Lizard Motorsports. Michael Cooper will start. He exchanged that car with Jason Bell. Here we see Francis Seldorf getting ready to go. Schwez Povoledo Racing as well. Just a fantastic mix of cars, machines from just about any conceivable manufacturer present in the GT4 grid. And getting ready to go. Everybody gridded up down in the pit lane. I'm sure everyone's tired. Tempers are starting to rise. Patience is fraying. Everyone's been in close proximity here for the last several days. Yeah,
and it's always curious. I mean, when you got the doubleheader weekend, you think, well, they're going to be more conservative on day 1 versus day 2. This is a triple header for these drivers, and they got a couple of weeks to Indy, so does that ramp up the intensity even more? We'll have to wait and see at the drop of the green here this morning.
Engines are fired down on the pit lane, which means we're about to send this massive field of GT4 cars out onto the racetrack. One driver that won't have to worry about the championship because he clinched it yesterday is Charlie Poston, since he's with Amanda.
That's right, Ryan, and now we get to catch up with the 2023 champs back-to-back, and you guys were almost not going to join us in on the fun against this season, but when you compare the 2 championships now, how do you look at them, similar or different?
It's a great question. Different, very different. Last year, very surprisingly, we started off hot, and we kind of kept a steady momentum throughout the year. This year, we got off to a horrible start at Sonoma. We got a 3rd in the first race, and then I had an incident in the second race, and so it was a slow burn. But then when we found our pace, you know, we got 6 and a bounce there in the middle of the season, which was incredible. And also, quite frankly, I think the competition's been just a little bit harder this year, so this one probably feels a little bit more special.
Yeah. Congratulations, Charlie.
Thank you very much.
Really well done. It's been a dominant season. Maybe a slow burn for about a weekend.
Yeah.
And then they got it up to full temperature.
It's
been
went
a boil
pretty quick.
That's right, ever since. Let's look at our starting grid here today for the 3rd of 3 races on this triple header weekend. It'll be Handley Motorsports and Parker Thompson set to start on pole position. He and that car have been super fast all weekend. Kenton Cook, the Random Vandal, right there, starting alongside in the second spot. Jason Hart and Matt Travis, they're in the midst of a big championship fight in Pro-Am. They'll have Mackay Stevens starting alongside in the silver class. Then we get to row 3, Kai van Berlo. He's a Dutchman, but he goes to school at the University of Miami. He is in the 5th starting spot next to Nissan veteran Brian Heitkotter. Best qualifying performance of the season for Brian and the Tech Sport team. Michael Cooper back in the championship here for the weekend alongside Jason Bell. He'll start 7th. Andrew Davis from ACI Motorsports will start in the 8th overall position. Jaden Lander on the M class pole, doing a great job this weekend for Krug Speed. Aaron Povolato, co-owner of Schwest Povolato Racing, alongside Ross Schwest, will start in 10th. Cedric Spirazzulli for Conquest Racing, starting alongside the veteran Terry Borcheller in row number 6. Row 7 belongs to Austin Crines and Zach Anderson. They're coming from a long way back, but keep an eye on the 51. Carter Fartuck from Skip Barber and Juan Pablo Martinez from NOLA Sport are in row 8. Row 9 to Chandler Hull and Tyler McQuarrie, a pair of BMW M4s. In row 10, it's Al Carter for Random Vandals in their AM class entry next to Hannah Grisham from the Heart of Racing team. Lee Carpentier and Matt Halcup make up row number 11. In row 12, it's Tony Ave alongside Joey Da Silva and James Clay in the Bimmer World Machine. Colin Garrett just hopped out of his TCX car. He won the championship over there. He'll start in 25th. Chris Allen 26th. Tommy Johnson and Kaya Teo will start in the 14th row to row 15, where Chris Rappel is set to share that starting row with John Teesey. And in row number 16, we find Sadikal Kalsup and Eric Powell driving solo this weekend, a bit under the weather, but had a great run yesterday. Final row, Roman DeAngelis for Heart of Racing and Andy Lee for Flying Lizard Motorsports. Both of those cars were damaged yesterday. I suspect they're starting at the back because of a chassis change here for race number 3 because of that heavy crash they had in race number 2. It is Pirelli GT4 America, of course. Couldn't do it without the help of the fine folks from Pirelli. Let's learn more about what goes into a race weekend under the Pirelli tent.
Hi, I'm Kyle Heyer with SRO America, and welcome to the Pirelli compound. All the tires for the race weekend are mounted in bounds for the race teams. Pirelli uses race tires as a proving ground for its technology that they roll into your road tires. They provide 2 compounds for racers to use. Teams bring their unmounted rims to the Pirelli compound to have the tires put on. Basically, they'll grease up the outside of the rim, slip the rubber over, and seat the bead, which means that you're essentially connecting the rubber to the metal rim so that the tire can hold air on the racetrack. So after a session, teams will bring their tires back to Pirelli and have the rubber removed, give them the wheels back, and then they'll recycle the rubber to use at future events. A dry tire is one of the 2 compounds that Pirelli provides to SRO America. It's a tire that has a slick surface, meaning it has no tread, that gives it maximum grip in dry conditions. The wet tire has grooves in it, kind of like your road tires, that siphon water away from the tread of the tire and make sure that there's still contact patch on the ground during wet conditions. Pirelli mandates a minimum tire pressure to make sure that tires make it through an entire stint without damage. Tire management is a huge part of racing strategy, so in some of the longer races like the Indianapolis 8-hour, you'll see teams try to double stint their tires to make them last multiple stints to find advantages on the racetrack. But when they come down pit lane, they'll get a fresh set of Pirellis and go back out there to win in SRO America.
Good stuff from Kyle. As we get ready to go in the final race of the weekend. This feels like we've been building up to this all weekend long. Who knows what we're going to see? We had 2 vastly different races, race 1 to race 2. Clean green to checkered in race 1, not so much yesterday in race 2. Any guesses on what we might see today, Cal?
Well, I think you've got some championship contenders who are a little bit out of position. If we think about the 51 squad that had a great day yesterday, Zach Anderson leads that championship. They're starting deep in that pack, and their nearest contenders, the 34 car, start on the second row of the grid. And similar in the other class as well. You got the NOLA Sport entry up there starting P3 versus the 82 car that leads the Pro-Am Championship way back, sort of like just inside the top 20. So look for their drivers to try and make some ground here in the early going.
We talked about the fact that the Flying Lizard car of Andy Lee and Elias Sabo are starting at the back. Just got word that Andy's going to be driving solo here today. There are a couple drivers doing that. Force majeure is all we were told as to the reason why, although again, Elias was in a big crash yesterday. That could be a car to keep an eye on, but the pit stop will be interesting for Andy, who has to jump out of the car, go back to the pit wall, then hop back in the car, and then there's an additional amount of time required to stay stationary as a solo driver.
Yeah, you have to basically add 3 seconds to that minimum stop time, so that's certainly a compromise, and it really hurt Eric Powell, who's having a great run yesterday in the Nissan for Tech Sport, because there was a compression of the field when he had to do his pit stop, so that 3 seconds lost him a bundle of positions.
Looks like not just at the back of the pack, but also a pit lane start for Andy Lee, so he'll have his hands full as he tries to salvage a decent result. Lights off on the Toyota GR Supra safety car. Field in 2x2 alignment. On the front row, it's the white Supra of Parker Thompson. And he's got Kenton Cook, the man who took the improbable victory yesterday, starting alongside in the number 92 BMW for Random Vandals Racing. As ever, a fantastic array of machinery, all the panoply of GT4 racing on display. Coming into the VP acceleration zone, the Rova pole sitter Parker Thompson starts to accelerate away. Looks like Kenton Cook was able to hang with him on the initial jump. Here comes the field roaring down into turn 1, fanning out 4 and 5 wide. Side by side is the battle for the lead.
Yeah, really tight there between Mackay Stevens. Also almost gets into the back of Kenton Cook. Every trying to co-survive. Did Kenton Cook slice it back to the inside? Yes, he does, down into turn 3. This is where he had his magic yesterday.
From the outside of the front row to the point here on lap number 1. Everyone through the first sequence of corners, but look at this. Still side by side most of the way back through the field. Cook leads Thompson, then it's Hart, the leader in Pro-Am. Single file now through most of the top 10.
Everyone's settling in, giving each other a little bit of racing room. That's so necessary when the tires aren't fully up to temperature. So Kenton Cook leads this race from Parker Thompson. Jason Hart very much up on the wheel aboard the Nola Sport entry. That's the yellow, white, and black Porsche sitting there in P3.
Anderson, who's in the middle of that silver class points lead. He was side by side into the braking zone, and Zach Anderson, it looked like, went for a bumpy ride, a little bit off track. Not sure how that's resolved itself. You can see him in the back of that picture dicing with Spirazzulli in the Conquest Mercedes, and it looks like for the moment that Anderson comes out on top in that scrap.
Yeah, and he has to make some ground up. Not a great qualifying run for them yesterday, so he's deep in that pack, trying to make some moves early. This is tight. That's through Tower Corner, turn 13. Anderson looks like drops a wheel there coming off the corner.
Looks like a really good start for Anderson, up a couple of positions at the least. A couple cars have dropped backwards. Povolato, one of them. He lined up 10th. He's dropped several positions. Taking a peek back here. This is a car to keep an eye on. They were running towards the front until a penalty scuppered their chances at a good result. That's the STR38 car, Chandler Hull and Harry Gottsacker.
Yeah, so unlucky. Chandler had a great run yesterday in Fanatec GT. He finished second. He and Bill Oberlin bought the Bimmerworld entry. And then they looked like they're going to have at least a podium, maybe better. Yesterday, Harry Gottsacker had a great restart, but just a little too good. Got the call. Penalty for jumping a little bit early out of line. Tough call, but they made it.
These are the famous Sebring bumps. Those cars go for a wild ride up and over those bumps there in 17. Also here in turn number 1, that's where the pavement dates back to when this was a U.S. Army Air Corps air base back in the 1940s.
There is some real cut and thrust up at the front of this pack. Jason Hart is up on the wheel. He leads Pro-Am. He sits there third on the road. He's trying to get around Parker Thompson, trying to gap Kai Van Berlo, who sits second in Pro-Am. That's the green and white Porsche, fifth in line.
Crucially, though, for Hart, his closest pursuer in the championship battle, this is Andy Lee, I believe, back in the pit lane. Not sure what that's all about.
Yeah, Tyler McQuarrie's back in 20th overall.
Exactly.
Buried.
Dropped 2 positions on the start. They need to make up some ground because the momentum seems to be on the side of the Nola Sport pairing over the last few weekends.
It does, and they have the experience being in these championship battles as it comes down to the wire, certainly.
This is at the back half of the top 10. Terry Borcheller, Jaden Lander dueling for the lead in the AM class. A little bit further back, you find Austin Crines. He's third in AM, separated by a couple of out-of-class cars. Fighting with Spirazzulli right here.
There's Povolato right behind them. Then there's Chandler Hull aboard the 88 machine for STR.
Parker Thompson has reeled Kenton Cook back in at the very front of this field. Top 2 in the silver class. Cook, an outside championship contender. Thompson is not. They missed a round and haven't always had the best results to match with their pace. They're just trophy hunting at this stage.
And I think for Parker Thompson, this challenge may be a little bit more forceful because he's dropped Jason Hart by a couple of car lengths. That will allow him just to focus forward, not be worrying about Jason filling down the inside as he tries to set up a corner.
BMW, Toyota, Porsche, Mercedes, 4 different makes in the top 4.
It's Michael Cooper aboard that number 2 machine, that black and yellow Aston Martin right there going through your screenshot. Had a good run here yesterday, podium result for he and Jason Bell.
Coming under pressure from Brian Highcotter. If you remember Nissan's GT Academy initiative back in the day, Highcotter, one of the champions of that, propelled him into a professional racing career from basically his couch. He was a gamer turned racer thanks to GT Academy.
A lot of effort being put into that Nissan program. We understand some more of the Nissan management are here this weekend to observe and take it all in. Great effort by Tech Sport to develop those cars.
Of course, that Academy was featured here recently in that Gran Turismo movie that talked about Jan Mardenborough, one of several drivers that benefited from that over the years, and Highcotter probably the most noteworthy to come out of the United States.
Kenton Cook continues to lead. Parker Thompson just trying to survey the situation, see if his Toyota Supra may have an advantage over the BMW that he can utilize. Peek to the inside, not really thinking about it just yet, not quite close enough either.
Kai Stevens running 4th overall, 3rd in class. This is a similar situation that this car found itself in yesterday. Running 3rd in class, but separated from the top 2 by an out-of-class Pro-Am car.
Yeah, and it seems like the Mercedes doesn't quite have the straightaway speed, so it's a little bit vulnerable when you get into these race situations, but certainly they're in decent shape right now, looking at where their championship leaders are in comparison to them.
Nip and tuck between these two. Oh, you can see those white gloves of Parker Thompson hard at work inside that beautiful Supra with a livery that calls back to Dan Gurney's All-American Racers when they ran Group C, or GTP as they were known here, prototypes on behalf of the Toyota factory.
And success here at Sebring over the years with that prototype program. Getting back to the Mackay Stevens situation, he's 4th on the road, 2nd in silver. But he's got Zach Anderson, the championship leader, a couple of positions back in the silver class and many positions back overall.
Looks to me the BMW is pretty stout in a straight line. No surprise there. And even when Thompson gets a run, Cook just has enough of a margin never to be totally threatened. Van Berlo and Michael Cooper were side by side a little further back in the pack. That's for 2nd in Pro-Am.
Oh, Parker thought about sneaking his nose in there. That's a risky move. So easy to have contact there and turn someone around.
Van Berlo won out in that duel, and that left Cooper vulnerable. Highcotter was alongside, just caught a glimpse of that at the background.
Kenton Cook, though, is going to be tough. He is totally on top of his game right now. Excellent driver, very smart, savvy. Does not succumb to pressure typically. He's used to this type of heat.
Actually, I got that backwards. I think Cooper got around Van Berlo, and Highcotter might have followed him through. It's right at the back of this picture. Yeah, that is how it played out. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Here's a fight here. Cooper and Highcotter racing for position within the Pro-Am ranks.
Nissan has been strong here this weekend.
They've
really ramped that program up. It's getting into its sweet spot now. It's starting to be a factor in this championship.
The car they're chasing for the lead in their class is Jason Hart, who runs 3rd on the road, coming under a bit of pressure himself from Mackay Stevens in the 3rd placed car out of the silver class.
Highcotter, really calm individual. Just sits there, pretty quiet guy, but he is a real talent. As you said, came from the sofa and gaming to jump up to the real life world and made that transition. Really showcase what someone could do from sim to the racetrack.
He beat over 53,000 competitors back in 2011 to win that PlayStation GT Academy US title and help launch his career. Won a British GT championship in 2012. Hasn't been doing as much racing in recent years, but as soon as he heard about this new Nissan GT4 program, he got on the horn with his old contacts and said, hey, I want to be a part of this. And he's showing great speed right now, fighting with a former champion in GT4, Michael Cooper, and it looks like he might be about to grab that spot away, but we got to keep our eyes here on the battle for the overall lead, which is unrelenting. Parker Thompson continues to hound Kitten Cook.
Well, first a quick note on, it's great that Nissan has shown their loyalty with Hidecarter, but this battle up front, as you said, is getting intense. Parker Thompson is here just to win races. He's not thinking about a championship. He's thinking about how can I get my car in front of Kenton Cook and give my teammate Hanley a cushion to work with.
Starting to settle down here after 10 minutes. On the right, you see Elias Sabo. He's in his racing uniform talking to Darren Law, but the report is we don't expect him to take part in the race here today. Had a great day on Friday, and the weekend went pear-shaped yesterday in a big way.
Yeah, just got side by side, dropped a wheel in the dirt, and he and Gray Newell had a big impact there. So great that he's here on site this morning. He was sore last night, and if you're sore a couple hours after an incident and you sleep on it, you wake up, you can barely move. So, but he's strong, he's fit. And I'm sure he's frustrated if he is not able to participate in this race here this morning. Kai Stevens really keeping the heat on Jason Hart here. Battles everywhere, everyone keeping it nice and clean, intense racing at the same time. Pros on board with the Pro-Am entries.
We'll keep eyes on all those battles, but do want to check in with Amanda down in the pits.
And watching Elias Sabo walk gingerly over to the Flying Lizard area here on pit lane. He said this is the sorest he's ever been after a crash in his career. He's wearing his fire suit though today because he said he only packed shorts with himself to come to Florida, so needed some pants to be down here to walk along with Andy Lee's effort. Hopefully
Amanda,
we'll continue along.
I'm going to have to jump in here. I'm so sorry. That is a big developing story. The leader in Pro-Am pulls off the track. That's Jason Hart. And they're in the middle of a title fight right here, so hopefully this is nothing that is going to end their day, but this does not look promising for the NOLA Sport driver.
Yeah, is he just trying to roll through, do a Control-Alt-Delete, try and get some fire back under the belly of that Porsche, but you're right, second in points coming in, and you can see, not sure if he locked up there or just the dust where he's offline there, just trying to find a safe place to maybe get some fire back underneath this Porsche. Now he's back underway. Is he hitting pit lane? No, he's on the racetrack still.
Now he does make the way to the pits.
Lane.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
That is
what
massive.
A curveball.
No kidding. They had a great day yesterday. I think we might be able to get a little bit more information from Matt Travis with Amanda now.
Matt, you just looked at this replay as well, shaking your head. What can you tell us?
I got nothing. No news.
No good news.
Yeah. You can understand the frustration. Matt's about as jubilant a personality as you will find, but he loves his racing, wears his heart on his sleeve, and no power to that car, right? They got the Lumarank lights off.
Now it fires back up. So rare to see these cars. They're so reliable these days. In years past, it would be, not uncommon to have reliability issues, but the way these cars are homologated and built these days by the various manufacturers is top notch, so big surprise.
Yep. Battle for 6th on the screen with Kurt Swearingen's car, driven right now by Kai Van Berlo. Kurt will be taking over, but he does own the car. Fighting and holding down the 6th spot. Terry Porcheller giving chase, Zach Anderson chasing him. Those are the 3 different classes all represented in one battle. This is the NOLA Sport team taking a look at Jason Hart's stranded machine.
I wonder if he's broke a drive shaft. He just pulled it off to the side, and I thought initially it might be an electronic issue, but maybe he's just lost drive. They're looking down at the right rear corner, I believe.
Well, let's see if we can learn more. Amanda, what have you found out?
Well, what I've based on where we are on pit lane, Flying Lizard and Nola Sport are next to each other. So while Matt Travis was extremely upset, you did see a little bit of release from Elias Sabo on their chances of staying in this point situation.
Yeah, a couple of Aston Martins coming to grief here. That would be Aaron Povaledo and the 26. Wow, that is the Hannah Grisham-driven car. Both cars look like they should be able to continue on from that.
Yeah, spun in unison there initially, so I'm not sure if one inside the other and just had a little touch. There was too much damage for either one, fortunately. It's been a rough road for the Harder Racing team over the last couple of weekends. The female pairing had issues in both rounds at Road America, and then Gray Newell had a big one here yesterday.
That he did. Happy to see Gray take part in the GT America race earlier today. CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race to Kenton Cook. That was set a few laps ago at a 2:11.6. Parker Thompson just did a 2:11.7.
Yeah, I was going to say they're still knocking on the door of that number, both these leaders. So nip and tuck, separated by a few hundredths of a second.
That's Jason Hart out of the car. Just hoping that whatever the issue is can be rectified and they can get out, maybe try and salvage a point or two. Tough to do in this championship as deep as these fields are.
Oh, it's huge. You know, when you're thinking about championship scenarios, you're not very often thinking about a DNF through or a technical failure, particularly with that prep shop as well. They are absolutely top notch. So big surprise, as I said, very unexpected.
Well, a couple of caveats to that. Of course, this is Sebring. It's known for breaking cars. That's why manufacturers test here to break things and figure out what the weak spot is. And also, it's a triple header weekend. These cars are going through more strain than you would see on a normal weekend anyway, even if you take Sebring out of the equation.
Yeah, really good point, Ryan, on both fronts in terms of Sebring. If any car will break, it will break here. But up front, this battle is not going anywhere. Parker Thompson just sitting in the wheel tracks of Kenton Cook.
And he just reset the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race the last time by at 2:11.5, 2/10 quicker than Kenton. Kenton's going to have to be pretty feisty here to keep the young Canadian at bay.
Gets proactive there immediately. Parker still sends it down to the inside dirty part of the racetrack. Just keeps it together. You're always going to wash out a little bit on the front end, so it may look like it's a little bit of dirty driving, but there's nothing the driver can do when you're on like a acute angle and on the dirty part of the track. So he is through. Now can he escape the attention of Kenton Cook and create a margin for his teammate to then work within the second phase of this race?
And how much did that hold these two up relative to Mackay Stevens? Because he's now been clear of Jason Hart since Jason had his issue and is set off in hot pursuit of the top two within his class. Here is Stevens in the Mercedes, and behind him the battle rages at the top of the Pro-Am field with Michael Cooper doing everything in his power to keep Brian Heitkotter behind him.
He is. It's been a great battle. Brian's sitting right there in the wheel tracks. They've dropped Kai Van Berlo a little bit. That green and white Porsche sits about 3 or 4 seconds back of that lead duo in Pro-Am.
This is so cool to see this Tech Sport team and this Nissan GT4 starting to hit their stride here. This is a development program. These are the only 2 cars running outside of Japan this season. Here comes Cook, counter-attacking. Thompson has to be very defensive at the end of the Ullman straight. Ooh, looked like Cook had to check up a little bit.
He did. He tried to do that crossover there with the extra speed of the BMW, tried to use that and just fire it down to the inside. But then from that point where he got pinched, Parker rolls a lot of speed into 17 with that Toyota Supra, so lost a little bit of ground ultimately.
It has let Stevens close in somewhat. 2.5 seconds, the gap from second to third. And Stevens is towing Cooper and Heitkotter along with him.
He is. Basically, Stevens caught Kenton Cook by 1.4 seconds on that lap alone, so it's going to really create a compression here at the front of the field overall and within the 2 classes, Silver and Pro-Am.
In the AM class, Terry Borcheller continues to lead the way. He runs 7th overall. Jaden Landers 2nd, Austin Crines 3rd. We've been keeping tabs on Tyler McQuarrie in the 82. championship leaders coming in Pro-Am. Remember, they were all the way back in 22nd for a while. Tyler's up to 13th overall, top 5, 5th, I believe, in the Pro-Am class. I suppose if there's a silver lining, at least as they run for the NOLA Sport guys, it's not like the 82's having a great day, but James Walker Jr.'s had good pace this weekend, and that could change in the second stint.
Yeah, but they're coming off 2 such strong results here already this weekend for the 47 team. They'll be bitterly disappointed. I think they were hoping that they could even have the championship lead heading to Indy, so now they're going to be very much on the back foot and need a little bit of help possibly.
Good fight between the Monegasque, Cedric Spirazzulli and Austin Crines. Out of class, but nevertheless for 11th and 12th. This is a little further back. Colin Garrett, who less than an hour ago wrapped up the TCX Championship in TC America, sharing his GT4 BMW with Johann Schwartz. Veteran Tony Ave coming through. Now we drop back and we find the 253 car, actually. This is a car that's had a pretty good weekend in the AM class with Walker and Kalsa, and it is Sadikal Kalsa who's doing the driving right now, fighting with Lee Carpentier for position.
Colin Garrett coming off a wonderful morning already. Won the TCX race here earlier today, and that gives him an insurmountable lead heading to Indianapolis, but he said, I got work to do in this race as well. Busy boy.
Thompson, Cook, the leaders. Then it's Stevens, Cooper, and Highcotter. Dropping back, you find Kai Van Berlo in the Porsche. Running 7th now is Anderson. He's gotten around Borcheller, who is the leader in the AM class. Behind him, Andrew Davis and Cedric Spirazzulli rounding out the top 10 overall.
Yeah, for Zach Anderson, we talked about his poor qualifying position. He's now got the car up to P7 overall, 4th in silver, but only 1 position behind the 34 team of Mackay Stevens and Jesse Webb. So it's not such a big points loss. That is huge in keeping that healthy championship lead alive.
Coming up on that pit window here in under 5 minutes, Calvin. Always a crucial part of these Pirelli GT4 America races. It's all about the driver change. No tire changes, no refueling, just the driver swap. You can check air pressure, bleed some air pressure if you'd like. That's about it for these teams in the pit lane.
Yeah, and you'd expect a lot of these teams to run a little bit deeper into that 10-minute window where you have to hit pit lane. Pros on board, someone like Michael Cooper. Also give Jason Bell a bit more of a rest. He's had a busy morning already, finishing 2nd in the GT America race, consolidating his lead there at the same time.
Almost got the win. That ultimately went to veteran Tony Gables, who picked up his first win since 2017. Hard to believe. So
cool. He was on the verge of tears, I think. He was very emotional with that win here. It's a special one.
That series, of course, 2 races still to go at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 2 weeks, part of the Indy 8-hour weekend. Battle here, Carpentier, Halcomb, and right at the tail of this, I think, that is Kalsa, yes. So these are 3 cars all in the M class, all fighting amongst themselves. Good opportunistic move there by Kalsa to get around the 52.
Big day yesterday for ACI Motorsports. Halcomb getting that victory with his teammate Edge.
Monty dropping a couple of positions on that lap to both Halcomb and Kalsa. Kalsa feigns the attack to the inside.
Now he rolls speed to try and open up the door. Porsche's just in his way. He's going to try and tuck it. That's tough to do. Get that front bouncing across the road. So easy to get into the right rear fender of the car in front of you.
37 minutes to go. Pit window opening here soon. Let's check in the pits with Amanda.
I talked to Sadikal at the podium yesterday, and he said that I ratted him out, telling him that he was being bullied and now is starting to bully, but you had questioned why he might be just doing 1 year with us here in SRO America, and he said that in his world that he kind of came into the lottery, and if he was going to have a chance at it, that this would be the season. So literally living his dreams in front of us, guys.
It's a cool story, but we're sad to see him go. His racecraft has really come a long way, and we're seeing it on display right here.
Great team, like that group there, Autotechnic, put out some first-class entries in this field. Cars always look immaculate.
Team-based.
Ooh, that was a move.
Yeah, sure was.
Yeah, Holcomb got wide there.
Good stuff. Yeah, the Autotechnic team based in New Milford, Connecticut. They are very much fighting for the Silver Class Championship with the car you see trailing the Porsche top of the screen now, front and center. This is Kai Van Berlo defending on Zach Anderson. Two different classes here. Pro-Am for Van Berlo, silver for Anderson. Anderson needs to get by. He's just trying to set the table for John Capestra Dubets in the second stint.
Everyone getting suited and booted, ready to go. Leaders will have the opportunity to pit on the next lap, not this one. Someone deeper in the field may be able to get in about half a minute's time.
It's a 10-minute window. You must be in the pit lane prior to the window expiring.
There's young Hanley. His teammate has got the job done again, got the point, got the lead, not blowing the competition away. He's got a 1.2 second lead over Kenton Cook, so Hanley's gonna have to go up against Kevin Boehm and Jesse Webb.
Anderson inside of Van Berlo. Oh, they didn't leave each other much room. They're able to keep on going.
Yeah, that was all good though. Borschella right there. Great run for that team as well.
Later in Am, working on the third-placed car in Pro-Am with the fourth-placed car in silver at the front of the train.
Terry Borschella, what a history in this sport he has, and relishing this opportunity to be back behind the wheel of a competitive race car.
And helping to shepherd along his co-driver Nick Shanny, who had maybe the best day we've seen out of him in his brief career on Friday. Yesterday had its ups and downs, but he's got a third chance at it here in this third race of a triple header weekend.
Yeah, Shanny's really come on leaps and bounds this year. Had the lead of the race, ultimately finished just inside the top 5, but he held the lead for a while and really displayed amazing confidence and resolve there to hang on to that position for quite some time.
7th and 8th overall, that's what hangs in the balance here. No class positions on the line. The car behind Borcheller is Andrew Davis. I believe that is the 5th place car in silver. Just inside the top 10. And Spirizuoli in the 10th spot overall.
Pit
Not
window
too far
open.
behind. Yep, that's right.
Pros staying out longer. Mackay Stevens with Jesse Webb available is going to jump in. Be one of the first to take that opportunity.
We've seen this Conquest team do this a few times this year to great effect. There's not much difference between the performance of their two drivers, so they can go off strategy and try and jump their competition. This also covers them off if a full course yellow should come out. See a couple other cars doing the same thing. STR 38. Chandler Hull will be turning over to Harry Godsacker. Some of the M-Class cars too making their way down the pit lane. Eric Powell, who's driving by himself in the second Tech Sport Nissan, he also elects to make his pit stop now.
That's a pretty evenly matched driver pairing there for
Eric
Powell.
and Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Hull passing over to Godsacker, who drove a really good stint yesterday. Got dinged for pulling out a line just too early on a restart. Looked like they might have had at least a podium, if not a chance to win the race, if it weren't for that penalty yesterday.
Longy now going to jump on board that McLaren. They've had some understeer issues in that car. We saw his young teammate have an off, but there was actually a suspension failure that caused her to go off the road there. So developing that Artura. Great to see that team back here.
Led by Paul Holton, former driver in the SRO paddock. And Kaya Tio, 17-year-old driver. She hails from New Jersey. Got to meet her this weekend. Absolutely loving getting to race this GT4 McLaren. Expect big things from her in the future. This is interesting. Kenton Cook has found some pace deeper into the stint. He has caught Parker Thompson.
Look at this.
And it's all happened on this lap. It was 1.1 seconds at the line, and now Thompson has to go on the defensive.
Big time. Kenton's got the run, almost touches him there, tries to leave it to the last possible split second there to dodge out. But Parker really sends it in on the entry to turn 17. Seems like they're both going to stay out for at least a lap more, maybe a little bit deeper even. They got 6 minutes to play with, so probably they can do 2 more laps before they hit pit lane.
Parker positioning that car very defensively. Cook takes a wider radius, now pinches it down, getting back to power at the exit of 1, looking to set up the move possibly here into turn number 3. Kenton Cook in the CrowdStrike car with the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race, putting the pressure on Parker Thompson for the race lead.
Yeah, not sure if there's a little slip by Parker that closed this gap, but he's really feeling the pressure right now, and wonder how much of his tire he's having to use up to maintain the lead in this race, or if maybe they've ballooned a little bit on the pressure. They can make that adjustment certainly during the pit stop. No fuel goes on board, no tire change, just a driver change. Minimum stop time is 84 seconds for GT4 competition here this weekend.
And they're catching some traffic here. It's Michael Johnson ahead, who has already made his pit stop, now getting up to speed. How will this traffic affect their strategy about when to make the pit call?
Could be huge. You got to read into that. You got to anticipate how quickly you're going to catch it. But his car's coming out of pit lane. Kenton Cook cuts the corner a little bit tighter, tries to take advantage, but Parker is holding fast here.
To your point earlier, I think it was a bobble in the first sector on the last lap. That's where Cook made up about 0.6 of a second last time by, and it's brought him back into this fight for the lead in the silver class.
Right behind him, great battle still between Cooper and Highcotter for the Pro-Am lead. They sit about 4 or 5 seconds back of this lead overall duo. This is top-notch stuff. Absolutely wringing the necks of these race cars. Their lap time is about half a second clear of the rest of the field here today.
And they've gapped Cooper and Highcotter by over 4 seconds. Here we go, side by side again into turn 17. Cooper continuing to fight with Highcotter for the lead in Pro-Am 2. Good battles up and down the field here in Pirelli GT4 America. Still a couple minutes left in the window. Couple people make the call.
I think Kenton.
Yep.
Kenton came and Parker stayed out, it looks like.
That's it, exactly. Here come the Random Vandals team. We've got a warning to this car. Final warning, we're told, for contact. Did not see that.
Everyone was keeping it pretty clean, but maybe there was some sparks flying when we weren't focused on them.
Interesting that Highcotter also comes in. Thought they might have maximized his lap time for 1 more lap here today, but they elect to make that pit stop. Jesse Webb, remember, this is the Conquest team. They were 3rd in silver when the pit sequence began. They called him in early because he has the same pace as his teammate Mackay Stevens, and look at all of this beautiful clear racetrack for him just to lay down flyer after flyer.
Yeah, doing the undercut, there's no real tire advantage other than maybe getting your pressures back in down to where you need them. But yeah, it's all about traffic. We saw the leaders encountering traffic on the last lap coming in for Kenton Cook, and Parker Thompson's in traffic as we speak. So what can Kai Stevens' teammate here, Jesse Webb, do with his outlap? Now we see the Random Vandals car released from pit lane as Kevin Bohm, I believe, coming out of pit lane. It's going to be tight. I think he's just going to hang on to it. He's got to get into a rhythm very, very quickly here. Jesse Webb's going to be flying through turn 1 as Kevin Bohm is just getting up to speed here.
This is the power of that strategy, but it puts so much pressure on young Jesse Webb in his first ever season of GT4 racing to extract that pace instantaneously, and he has done that time after time this season. Another driver in his first season of GT4 racing, Kevin Bohm, is going to find himself under pressure. He too needs to get into a rhythm and quickly.
He's got to be feeling, just give me an easy race. Kevin Bohm, he's been in a hornet's nest, it seems, every single race of late.
Evidently, the contact for which the warning came was on the backstretch a few laps ago between Kenton Cook and Parker Thompson. Speaking of Thompson, here he comes. We saw this from him
yesterday.
Yeah, he is late on the brakes coming down the pit lane, maximizing that entry into the pits as much as possible.
Well, he's a student of the sport. He looks for every little wrinkle in terms of performance, and that in-lap, that pit lane as you come in there, leaving it to the last possible moment to arrest the speed down to 50.
Here's Dan Hanley jumping aboard. This is very reminiscent of what we saw on Friday, where Thompson started the race, gave Hanley a lead, and Dan turned in the best performance of his young career to nurse it home and take home the victory.
Another great job by Parker. Super impressive young man, really making a big statement over the last 24 months in this sport.
You see the car stationary. They're trying to make sure they don't run afoul of the 84-second minimum pit lane delta. You must not go under that, or else a penalty will be issued by race control. This is the battle we need to watch for. These two on track. Dan Hanley leaving the pits.
Yeah, I think he's going to hang on to it, because I think similar picture to what we saw a lap ago. It'll be tight as he gets up here. It's going to be similar to what we saw before with Jesse Webb giving chase on Kevin Boehm. Now it's Kevin Boehm giving chase on Hanley.
How about this dynamic? All three of these drivers, wow! It's their first season of GT4 racing, and here they are at the very front of this pack.
Wow, that was tight. It looked like Jesse Webb was trying to just cut it back across and maybe used up a little bit too much of that tire in doing so, and nearly lost the rear end of that Mercedes. That was tight.
Yeah, Boehm's on the move now. Webb also, and looks like Hanley still trying to get up to speed. Here's Cook and Thompson exchanging words possibly about that contact, but we've got a three-way fight for the silver class lead right here. Two championship protagonists running second and third. The interloper is Hanley. He's not in it for the points. He just wants another race win.
This is going to be fascinating for Kevin Boehm. He's got the heat from behind on Jesse Webb, and then he's got to try and make a move here for the lead of this race, and they need the wins. They're a little bit behind in this championship. They've got a solid championship position, but if they're going to think about the actual big title, they've got to try and get the big points here today and sweep the weekend.
Oh, Boehm swings a little bit wide. Back in line now. Webb unable to take advantage. Hanley immediately swings wide. Boehm kept the nose there to the inside for a while, but tucks back in line.
Yeah, I think, you know, you want to be patient, but maybe now's the time to pounce before Hanley kind of gets into his rhythm.
This is one
Bit
of
of
the
understeer there on the Toyota. Couldn't quite get it turned in to the final corner on the back straightaway, turn 16.
And this is a strong place for the BMW M4 GT4. Straight line speed has been an asset all season. Hanley guards the inside. Boehm looks right. Now comes back, driver's left. Will he try and float it around the outside? That would leave him vulnerable to Webb. Webb takes a peek around the outside. No change. It remains nip and tuck between the top three.
Webb gets alongside. I think the BMW is going to outpower him a little bit, but then it's going to be who's going to be the bravest. Will Webb think about running the outside here through turn one? The 50 is off.
That's Rush West.
Wow, what a weekend he's had.
Both championships he's run, it has not been great for him. Wow, Webb is able to complete the pass. Instantly he goes to defend in turn three. Now he sets his sights for Dan Hanley.
That was a brave move to make it happen around the outside of turn one. Hopefully we'll get another look at that one, but now we can set sail and get after Hanley. But Hanley's getting into a rhythm here pretty quickly. I think that win the other night was a big boost.
It's not done yet. Boehm and Webb roaring to the hairpin. Boehm is up alongside again. This is a tough place to coexist. Webb able to fend off the challenge.
I think Kevin Boehm has said, he's made the statement, I've got to adjust my driving style, jumping up to this new level. It's a bit more aggressive. Let's take a look. Webb got that run coming through 17, then he tries to send it around the outside. Kevin was on the outside yesterday and got the bump, and he gives his competitor a lot of respect there and plenty of racing room.
This is the top three overall, the top three in silver. Then we drop back to Jason Bell, who leads the way in Pro-Am. But keep an eye on this car. John Capestro-Dubet's fourth in silver, trying to reel in the top three. Here's Kurt Swearingen. He is second in Pro-Am points. He's got Francis Seldorf, the silver class car, coming behind him. We drop back and find the top 3 in AM all running nose to tail. Shanny, Krines, Girazzi, the top 3 in that class, just outside the top 10 overall. Here's the top 3 in silver once again. This fight is not going anywhere. Bohm swings to the inside. Again, he gets to the door of the Canadian Jesse Webb. They both climb on the binders side by side through 17. Webb high, wide, and handsome around the outside. He's able to hold it strong. Each give each other just enough room, and the drag race continues down the pit straight.
Kevin's got to be saying, what do I need to do here? I get to the inside. I get the track position. This young man will just not give it up. Now he's down to the inside again, down into turn 1. He gave the Mercedes plenty of room last time around. He's just going to try and hang tough. No, the Mercedes clears him once again.
And Dan Hanley is loving this. He's got breathing room for the first time in his stint. Webb gets a little bit crossed up. That lets Bohm creep that much closer, but this isn't really a spot on the track you could pounce. Not without a big mistake, at least.
Bohm there lost a little bit through turn 5. He's got to regroup. Allows Jesse Webb now to focus forward on Dan Hanley for the lead of this race. BMW, that was strong. Comes back at them immediately. Kevin Bohm is learning fast at this new level in his career. Championship winning driver. Gets this great opportunity to run alongside Kenton Cook. The driver's got a bit more experience at this GT4 level, of course, but he's learning quickly.
Mentioned that battle with the AM class. Look at these 3 locked together. Shanny, it's now Girazzi up to 2nd. And that bumps Krines down to 3rd. Behind them runs Charlie Postins. That's another AM class car. He's the champion-elect already. Had a 4th place result yesterday, a rare result off the podium for Charlie and James Clay. But he's got the podium or perhaps another class win in sight.
Yeah, it's a fascinating battle here for the AM class win again. Nick Shanny has the lead of this race. Girazzi's putting on the pressure right now with a 72 car.
Here we go, side by side for the lead. It's Webb to the inside of Dan Hanley. This is the drag race down the Ullman Straight. What is Kevin Bohm going to do with this? He's got to run. He makes it 3 wide to the inside.
He's going to get the lead here.
From
third to first.
To the lead. Kevin Bohm to the point. Oh, and look at that. The Mercedes leaning on the back of the BMW. Pushes him a little bit wide. That puts Jesse Webb out in front.
What a battle. Fantastic stuff between these 3 drivers.
And Bohm, he's seen this before. What's he going to try this time? Will he try to make the outside line work? Webb guards the inside. Hanley now slots in 3rd.
Hanley really rose speed. That's where that Toyota is really good. Kenton Cook looks on. Progress of his teammate. Now back to P2. Had the lead momentarily for maybe half a corner.
It was Kenton Cook who had the dramatic pass for the lead and the win on the final racing lap yesterday. Hoping for a little more late race magic for the Random Vandals team. Again, Bohm draws a bead on Webb. Again, Webb guards the inside. Bohm swings wide, but will he open the door for Hanley to counterattack?
Jesse Webb needs this win. They're 37 points behind Zach Anderson in this championship. They need the big points here today to even have a chance heading to Indianapolis.
I think the same could be said for Bohm. Any hopes they have? They were an outside shot anyway coming into the weekend.
Yeah, they had to beat Zach Anderson here today to even keep their hopes alive. 48 points back coming into the race this morning.
AM class fight continues. Girazzi now to the point around Shanny. Krines looking like he's got designs on taking that 2nd spot away.
Postins is right there as well. I'd say Charlie's the favorite here with a bit of time to work with.
The caveat, or the wild card, I guess I should say, is the car at the back of this train. That is the Pro-Am points leader of James Walker Jr., who desperately wants to clear this fight so he can get up to the next car in his class, which is Custodio Toledo, who runs 10th overall, 4th in Pro-Am.
Got to be careful, though. Don't take any risk, James Walker. You got the championship lead. Your nearest contender is out of this race.
Will not score points.
That next Pro-Am car is quite a ways down the road, so got to be big picture thinking right now. Nick Shaney, just to be hanging tough here with his experience level and from where he's come, just amazing the progress that he's made under the tutelage of Terry Borscheller and a great group that they've put together there with that race team.
Looked like Poston's got a pretty good jump out of 16, closing into the back of Roland Krein, so he'll pop out of line. Walker looking to follow him through, but actually Porsche is able to pull enough of a gap. Poston's unable to make the pass.
Yeah, rare to see that 36 car off the podium here yesterday. As he said, they went on a tear, winning 6 straight. Clinched the championship yesterday, but now it's all about putting some icing on that championship cake.
16 minutes to go. This hour has flown by. What a show we've had in Pirelli GT4 America. The AM class battle. Poston's taking a lunge on Shaney. Has to settle back in. Looks like Shaney dropped the spot there to Kreins.
Kreins made the move, but then got really wide through turn 1. Poston sticks it down the inside. That's for P3 in class. On the podium now.
Already the champion-elect alongside James Clay. Back-to-back titles for that pairing in this championship.
Girazzi has the lead. Probably about a second and a half there as you look at it, as he heads down towards turn 7. Kreins up to second. Poston's now in third.
Shaney coming under pressure from Walker Jr. Not for class position. Cutting him any slack, though.
Tough situation for James Walker Jr. We talked you through it in terms of the championship, what he needs to do. The next Pro-Am car is Custodio Toledo, but he's probably about 10 seconds down the road, so it'll be tough for James to catch him should he make his way through this AM class battle.
I think he could if he could get through the AM class cars. He's got the pace to do it in clear track, but that's not what he has to work with right now.
Well, you have to be careful, even if there's avoidable contact not between the same class cars, they'll make the call on you, so he's got to keep it clean at the same time.
One penalty to update you on. A 1.6 second post-race time penalty given to the 7 car of Kurt Swearingen and Kai van Berlo for being under the minimum pit lane delta. Right now, they're having a very good day, running second in Pro-Am. They've got enough of a margin over Tyler Stone where that penalty wouldn't cost them, but that could change here in the final 14 minutes.
Yeah, that gap's about 3.8 seconds right now, so he's got a couple of seconds in hand, but he can't afford to let that gap get any closer, otherwise they will lose that position after the checkered flag. Great job here by Webb. What a battle he was in there, and now he's sort of like got his head down, got into a rhythm. We can see that Mercedes doesn't have the best straightaway speed, but it's got good lap time here. This is the day they needed Conquest Racing. Give themselves a chance heading to Indianapolis.
You can see here points as they run. Zach Anderson and John Capestra-Dubet separated because JCD could not run at Road America due to an injury. But Anderson had a great weekend there solo. This win would be crucial for Webb and Stevens to go in feeling like you've got a shot in the final 2 races.
It'd need a big weekend, but it makes it doable.
It'll be a hometown race for the Conquest team run by Eric Bachelard, longtime IndyCar entrant.
Yeah, what an operation. They are so busy. Big campaign in Ferrari Challenge these days. I think they run a dozen plus cars over there. Run the Fanatec GT entry for Manny Franco, Alessandro Balzan here. 2 cars in GT4, and I think they're looking at expanding that even further for next season. So, brilliant operation led by a great racer and champion himself, Eric Bachelard. I think for Mackay Stevens, he'd love to win this championship. Word is out that he may not be back for next year. Jesse Webb, I think, will be, maybe not necessarily in this championship, but I think they're committed to Jesse for next season at least. Mackay may be looking for a ride, and he deserves one. Top-notch driver, classy guy, super smart. We've seen his racecraft on show here this year, Ryan.
Well, you look at what he's done over the last 2 seasons. He's done everything but win a championship. They were 3rd in 2021 when he was paired with Colin Mullen. 2nd last year alongside Gavin Sanders. Won 6 races, 19 podiums across those 2 seasons. And he has been the one constant in that operation since it came online. deserves a ton of credit for the fact that they have become instant contenders here in Pirelli GT4 America.
Jason Bell here, taking over the reins of this number 2 entry from Michael Cooper, the finalist in Motorsports Aston Martin. Has about a 7-second lead over Kurt Swearingen, who's also got that penalty to serve, so make that 8.5-second lead in reality. So just needs to hit his marks. What a big weekend for them.
Good to have him back in Pirelli GT4 America.
Yeah.
The focus this year has been on the GT4 program in GT America, but they turned up at Circuit of the Americas, you remember. They won one of the races there, he and Michael Cooper. Haven't seen him since, but pop up here at Sebring. Looks like another race win could be in the cards.
Yeah, and you put Michael Cooper in a car, I mean, it's going to give you a great shot, and Jason's come so far. We talk about Nick Shanny, how he's progressed, but Jason Bell has been phenomenal over the last 3 or 4 years, I'd call it now, in terms of his progress and his poise behind the wheel. And once you get used to leading races and leading championships, it gets a little bit easier.
This has been awesome all race long in the AM class, especially here in the second stint. You heard Charlie Postins talking to Amanda earlier saying, yeah, we won the title last year, but this one is sweeter because the competition level has ramped up, and you could see that on display. Roland Crines absolutely is not rolling over for the champion-elect here. He is having to fight for every position. And this Krug Speed team that leads right now, they've been stout this year too.
They really have. Gerazi's done a nice job hanging on to this lead, but it's coming down, that gap between he and Crines and Postins. Postins is putting the pressure on. He's got to think about it as well. Not a lot of time on the board, under 10 minutes to go. Don't get too feisty and racy, otherwise you may give Gerazi the gap that he's looking for. Just try and inch up and make it a 3-way battle, then go on the attack maybe with the plan for Charlie.
Couple of teams here in RS1 and Bimmer World that are likely to be going wheel to wheel later on this afternoon in the Fanatec GT race.
Still looking forward to that one. Charlie sends it in. Big speed on entry. Now he's going to try and do the crossover. Like a cut to that corner, get the can straight. That eases the bumps in the road as well. If you got a lot of steering input when you hit the bump, that really loosens up the rear end of the car. Try and neutralize the car a little bit more mid-corner. What he doesn't want to do is just get Crines on the defensive, because that will compromise their lap time and leave Gerazi handily in front. So be nice if they could have some communication between each other right now in terms of let's get to that Krug Speed entry and see what we can do then.
What can you do? Are there any accepted hand signals that say, hey, I want to cooperate, I don't want to fight with you right now?
Oh, really? I don't think so. And I think for Charlie, hasn't run around Roland a lot this year, so doesn't know how he operates, if he'll succumb to the pressure, if he starts to slow up when he's under pressure, like he's feeling right now.
We're watching Dan Hanley putting in another strong drive. His co-driver, Parker Thompson, is with Amanda.
Parker, we've been talking about the confidence we've seen out of here with Daniel Hanley since that win you guys had the NOLA 2 race, but what have you seen in Daniel that's really inspired you?
Oh, well, it's his first year racing, so the fact that he's out there holding his own, not only did he win the makeup race on Friday, but even just how he handled that traffic. I mean, we came out in front, we knew we didn't have the straight line speed to compete, and Daniel held his own for, what, 3 or 4 laps battling, and now he's hanging on to those guys so that if they rough themselves up, we're in a spot for a win still. So I can't thank him enough for his trust. He's really kind of came under my wing and learned everything that I've got to teach, and it's not going to be pretty long before he might be teaching me some stuff.
And you're trying to handle Ken Cook as long as you could, and just when you look at the Supra, is there an area on track that you would advise Daniel to be aggressive?
Well, first and foremost, I made my job even harder by missing turn 1 on the start, so that's on me, and I apologize to the team. That was probably our one shot of winning this race. I can't believe I got back by Kenton, honestly. Our straight line, the Toyota GR Supra is so fast, but our straight line just isn't quite what it needs to be to compete. So Dan's doing his best.
Thank you, Parker.
Thank you.
Reigning Porsche Carrera Cup North America champion, Parker Thompson, with great ties now to Toyota and to Lexus. A driver to keep an eye on for the future.
Look at this, Postins has gotten around Crines, and now they've got a little bit of traffic up ahead of them. Gerazi's trying to deal with. Can Charlie use that to his advantage? Gerazi, nice move there.
This is Tyler Stone in the Nissan that's starting to drop a little bit here through the field, and that's a Pro-Am class car. That's got to have the 82 of Walker Jr. licking his chops. That's a position he could gain in class and try and make up a few more points relative to the NOLA Sport car they're battling with for the Pro-Am title.
Yeah, that is huge. I mean, every point is so critical right now at this stage of the season.
Hines took a peek, and Tyler Stone get by. Still has James Walker Jr. trapped that little bit behind.
There's Girazzi, that's the lead in AM. There's Charlie Postons right behind him. Then there's Tyler Stone, and 2 cars back as our championship leader. Right there, the 82 machine of James Walker Jr. So that would be a battle for position.
And not far back behind them is Eric Powell. He had a 4-second deficit. You could see how much that's come down.
Yeah, and remember, he had to sit on pit lane 3 seconds longer than the rest of the 2-driver lineups.
This is a big development. We've got a whole host of drive-through penalties for pit lane speed infractions. One of the cars involved is the number 999 of Dan Handley, who runs 3rd overall right now.
Wow. Talk about 67, 253, 89, 80, the 999 as you mentioned, and the 98. All too fast on pit lane.
Think of those at the front of the field. It's just the Handley car that's affected. Everyone else a little bit further back. This is, again, the 999 that apparently owes a drive-through penalty.
You have to wonder if it was on pit in or pit out. Remember, we saw Parker lock up his wheels. We saw that yesterday when we talk about him trying to maximize and execute and gain every 10th of a second.
Right.
Did he overshoot a little bit, potentially?
That's big for John Capestro-Dubets. Not so much for John, but his teammates.
It's
Zach
easier
Anderson.
to overshoot on entry, excuse me, Ryan, than on pit out. Typically, you got electronic pit lane speed limiter that will control your speed on releasing from the box. They also have some really cool technology and data which allows them to see the speed all the way down pit lane. It's not done on a time, an average time down pit lane. They can monitor every step of the way what speeds. You can't shoot out of the box, try and gain position, then slow back down again. They have the data to analyze that.
Amanda says the infraction came at pit in, so that answers that question. But let's think about what this penalty does. It drops, or it will, drop Handley out of the 3rd spot. That will advance this 51 car up to 3rd. Points difference from 4th to 3rd is not huge, but it's not insignificant. And that then means that Jesse Webb and Mackay Stevens are that little bit further away heading to Indianapolis in a couple weeks.
Yep. As I said, every point, every position has some nuance to it in terms of how it's going to affect a potential championship title for these drivers and teams.
Does Dubets know about this penalty?
Well, you would assume that the team would be on top of that. That's the information you need in terms of risk versus reward. Here it comes. That answers the question anyway. Handley out of the way and hits pit lane.
Promotes JCD to 3rd. It moves Harry Gottsacker up to 4th for STR 38.
So to put it all in perspective, it's a 37-point lead for Zach Anderson, John Capestro-Dubet's teammate, coming into this race. As they sit right now, he'd lose 10 of that with Webb leading this race, teamed with Mackay Stevens.
Speaking of Webb, dealing with some lap traffic here, but it's not slowed him down. He's built a 2-second advantage over Kevin Bohm. First back to 2nd, Mercedes over BMW. Got a car off, that is the BGB car of Tom Collingwood and John Teesey.
Collingwood behind the wheel right now.
It's just out of Sunset Bend.
It's not ideal. And someone could get there, so they got to wait and analyze. Only 2 minutes to go. Maybe just finish this race under a local yellow, possibly.
Well, you have to think about, too, there are a bunch of cars that need to serve penalties. That's close to pit in. It's probably not the route you would normally take, but that increases the jeopardy a little bit. There is a car serving a penalty. I believe this would be...
That was one of the cars.
Yeah.
253 was on the list. It was a long list.
Bone clearing traffic. I think we'll see the white flag next time by for the overall leader, Jesse Webb. You can't give him enough plaudits for his stint. Remember the strategy play for Conquest. They pitted Mackay Stevens early, counted on Webb's speed in clear track. That got them some track position they were lacking. Not positions, but it did get them closer to the top two. And then the youngster turned the aggression on in a very calculated way.
Yeah, he did. That was a superb run by Jesse Webb here, just really showcasing what a talent he is and keeping them in the championship game. See the car just bouncing around there through turn 17. One more circuit to go.
White flag waves for the final time for Pirelli GT4 America here at Sebring International Raceway in 2023. Here we look in at the Jason Bell driven car. Francis Seldorf starting to run him down, but those are in different classes. Bell with a healthy lead in the Pro-Am ranks. Here's Geronzi and Postins. They're still dueling for the AM class lead as they will take the white flag the next time by. They have caught up with Custodio Toledo, who runs 9th overall and is in the top 5 in the Pro-Am class. Looks like Geronzi's going to be able to make the move. Can Postins follow him through? He is not going to risk anything as the champion-elect.
Well, does he have anything to risk, though? I mean, they've won the title. I mean, it's all about wins now. How can they add to that win tally? But it doesn't look good for Charlie right now. Great job by Geronzi getting that traffic in between he and Charlie.
He's got a very hungry Eric Powell looming large in the rearview mirror. Powell knows Toledo is for position. If he can get there, he is around Postins, and he's got a chance to grab one more spot and cap off what has been a solid weekend for the Techsport Nissan team with a great result inside the top 5. Toledo slips wide. Here comes Powell. He won't need a second invitation. In the meantime, it's pretty clean at the front for the Canadian Jesse Webb. Conquest Racing with JMF Motorsport. John Farrow's little project to give up-and-coming drivers who need a boost a chance to showcase their skills continues to show that he's got an eye for talent. Both of these young drivers he helped to identify. Jesse Webb on the precipice of another race win.
Looks like with that traffic scenario where the class overlap has really gapped the lead battle in AM. Geronzi looks pretty comfortable out front. Charlie Postins lost a bit of ground there. You see our leader, Geronzi.
I believe that pass by Powell was for the final step of the podium in the Pro-Am ranks. We'll sort that out in a moment, but for now, let's focus in on Jesse Webb and Conquest Racing. Out of the final turn for the final time. They'll take the checkered flag first and head to Indianapolis with a shot at the championship. 2 races still to go. Webb and Stevens, there he is, still very much in the hunt. Kevin Boehm comes home a fighting second. John Capestre-Dubets finishes 3rd for Auto Technic. Harry Gottsacker 4th in the silver class. Then we drop back to the 5th overall car. The leader in Pro-Am, Jason Bell, in the car that Michael Cooper started, cruises through the final turn. He was 2nd in GT America earlier today, but he'll go 1 step up on the box in race 2 for Pirelli GT4 America. Jason Bell and Michael Cooper scored the victory at Sebring International Raceway.
Fantastic weekend for Jason Bell. Couple of runner-up finishes, couple of wins. James Walker Jr. will consolidate that championship lead here.
Geronzi comes through to win in the AM class. Congratulations to he, Jayden Lander, and the Krug Speed team. Crossing the line in 2nd will be Charlie Postins. Roland Crines comes home in the 3rd spot. James Walker Jr. did get around Custodio Toledo on that final lap, so there's a couple extra points in the championship battle for Walker. That could loom large with just 2 races remaining.
Yeah, 4th place finish. That's 12 points on top of the lead they had coming in here, which was 7. So I think they'll have unofficially maybe a 19-point lead. 40-17, the NOLA Sport entry. A lot of work to do at Indy now.
Well, we had 2 remarkably clean races, sandwiching whatever yesterday was. Kitten Cook, by the way, had the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race.
It was the meat in the sandwich. I'm not sure what the type of meat was.
Well, it wasn't
Grizzly
short on
burger, I think.
That's right. Wasn't short on drama, that's for sure. And tell you what, if you thought you had a read on how this season was going to play out in Pirelli GT4 America coming into the weekend. You had to reevaluate that about 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster for all of these teams, just the ebb and flow of the races, the highs and the lows, the surprises, and it really sets up for a beautiful championship weekend at Indianapolis.
This was Parker Thompson into the pits. We think maybe this is where the infraction happened. Too fast in the pit lane, the infraction that cost the 999 a chance at a podium. They will slip all the way down to the 6th spot in class. That unfortunately has been the way of it this season. Great promise not always fulfilled for the team, but it is a young team with a young driving roster and a team that appears to be on the rise.
Yeah, it's a building year. I'm not sure what they're going to do next year, whether Parker's going to be available to that group, but if they are, look out for them for the championship. They have the pace to do it.
3 races on the books here this weekend, and they're all in the books now as we look at results from this 3rd race for Pirelli GT4 America. Jesse Webb held off a feisty Kevin Bohm to take the win by 1.6 seconds here today, sharing the car with Mackay Stevens, Bohm, and Cook. Winners yesterday will settle for 2nd today ahead of Zach Anderson and John Capestro-Dubets, who head to Indy, at least in the case of Anderson, as the points leader. Godstacker and Hull, Seldorf and Davis, the top 5. Then in the Pro-Am cars, it's Bell and Cooper getting top honors today. Swearingen and Van Berlo, really strong result for that pairing in ACI Motorsports. 3rd in that class. How about a podium for Tech Sport Racing and Eric Powell, who drove solo this weekend?
Fantastic result. Wasn't feeling his best yesterday, had to have an IV, so great bounce back for Eric. Good to see.
And in AM, Geronzi and Lander, we've seen them do it a few times this year. They'll take the top step on the box. Roland and Austin Crines had a nice day, but in 2nd, the champions-elect, James Clay and Charlie Postons, another strong result. Highlights from this 3rd and final race here at Sebring. The green flag waved just over an hour ago, and it was Parker Thompson doing battle with Kenton Cook from the front row, diving into turn 1, chaos erupting all throughout this massive field of GT4 cars.
Yeah, opened up the door by turn 3 for Kenton Cook to go to the lead, but look at this group. Good, clean racing through the middle of the pack.
This was a big moment. Championship contender in Pro-Am. Jason Hart, a mechanical issue, limped to pit lane, out of the race. Couple of cars colliding here. Both would continue. The fight was on, and it was fierce as Parker Thompson shouldered his way past Kenton Cook to take the lead right back for the Hanley Motorsports team. After the pit stop and the driver change, though, it was Jesse Webb who was charging. This incisive move to the inside of Hanley certainly opened some eyes, and it put the Conquest car in a position to fight for the lead, although Kevin Bohm took that lead back for a moment. Webb applied the chrome horn, slipped right back through, and would not relinquish the top spot.
Yes, that moment was brief.
Webb through the final quarter, taking the checkered flag yet again here this season, keeps their championship hopes alive with 2 races to go, crossing the line here at Sebring ahead of Kevin Bohm by 1.6 seconds. Partial season this year for Flying Lizards, Jason Bell and Michael Cooper. Their 2nd win, though, comes here at Sebring International Raceway, and the AM class win goes to Krug Speed, Anthony Geronzi and Jaden Lander. Well, there is the Canadian Jesse Webb just trying to get that helmet off. Amanda is down there to talk to our happy race winners from Conquest Racing.
Well, it was also a big hug from John Farrow that has delayed getting this helmet off, but that 1st place hat from Pirelli is going to go on the head of Jesse Webb. And Jesse, now with 4 wins on the season, you guys are going to push this battle to Indianapolis and keep it alive for this Mercedes team. Just a brilliant drive today before it settled down into some rhythm. Just talk about the battle for 1st.
Oh, I mean, that was the most amazing battle in my career yet. I mean, I know the best is still yet to come, but I mean, this race was just such a wonderful race to run. Kept it very stressful at the end. You know, Kevin was right there. He kept the pressure on me, and yeah, what a race, honestly. It was just got to thank you to this Conquest Racing JMF Motorsports team. I mean, they do a fantastic job on prepping this car. They were here all week, staying with the car, getting all ready, prettied up for the race, and yeah, couldn't be here without them.
Excellent job, Jesse.
Thank you.
That's a young man with a very bright future, I agree. The best is yet to come for Jesse Webb, but the present ain't bad either.
No, the pressure was on, though. They needed that result. There's Eric Bachelot congratulating his young charge there. Just superb.
And John Farrow in the background, the man who has helped so many aspiring racers over the last couple of seasons get in this car and showcase their skills. There's Jason Bell, deprived of a win earlier today in GT America, but he'll like this one. And Michael Cooper is next to him. I believe we'll have a chance to hear from our Pro-Am winners now.
Well, they have raced 4 times together this season, and in 3 of those races have been on a podium, and for 2 of them now on the top step. What is the magic going on between this pairing, Michael?
I don't know. We just get along really well. We like a similar car. Flying Lizard has been awesome all year. Jason's doing an awesome job. I got to thank the team and Jason for letting me do what I did this weekend, coming in on the red eye Saturday morning and just jumping right in for qualifying. It was awesome to be able to do that.
Jason, we know you hold yourself accountable on the mistakes, but I have to imagine the celebrations feel that much more exciting. What can we expect from Jason Bell headed forward?
Championship, I mean, in GT America, and then obviously we're going to race in Indy too, so maybe 2 more wins there. We like the track. Mike did a great job showing up in his first lap, putting it in the 3rd, so or 4th, so yeah, you really can't say much about that. I mean, obviously that's why he does what he does, so it's good to have him on my team.
We'll see if they can keep the streak alive.
I think that was news to Michael, that he's going to be racing at Indy. That was
smile.
a big smile. That woke him up.
Yeah, why not?
Very cool. Happy to see that. And, you know, Jason's had a couple different coaches over the last few years, and they've all been great. Sometimes you just need a different voice in your ear, and it does seem like Michael might have unlocked a little something here this season.
Yeah, mix it up a little bit, get a different perspective on things is always good, fresh perspective, and going pointed in the right direction. It's a big year for Jason Bell.
Let's hear from our winners in the AM class now.
Gosh, and there were just battles all over this field today, and I know it was a heck of a drive for you guys as well. Anthony, when you look at this victory that you have achieved, was there a moment that you knew that that was going to be the fate for you guys?
No, I was being pushed from behind the whole way, and thankfully I had a great setup. My team did a great job, and the car was perfect today. Jaden put us on pole and AM, and we took it home, so I'm very proud of him.
After a couple of runner-up finishes this season, now on the top step. Talk about just from one race to the other. You guys finish it off here in Sebring with the win. What set right for this team today?
So it was a well-oiled machine. We had a little incident on Friday. They stayed up late. They got the car together for us on Friday. Big thank you to Crookspeed and Toyota for the help. And the car felt great in qualifying today, and we got it done. I thought
you were going to say because your grandfather was here watching.
That too.
Nice job to the team.
It's a family affair. Congratulations on that win for that Crookspeed duo. Let's look at provisional points with 2 rounds to go, both at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 2 races, 1 round, I think would be more accurate. And it is Zach Anderson on top of the standings, but Mackay Stevens and Jesse Webb, they are closing in. They've got a real shot still.
There's a chance. They need a big weekend. They really need to sweep and hope that Zach Anderson doesn't have a great weekend. It's going to be tight.
And it'll be tight for 3rd as well between JCD and the Random Vandals pairing. In the Pro-Am side of things, of course, Am already clinched as of yesterday. Look at this. Walker Jr. and McQuarrie able to edge out after the misfortune for Travis and Hartz.
Huge for Travis and Hart to have that DNF here today. A lot of work to do in the final rounds of the championship chase.
And as mentioned, already an M-Class championship for the 2nd straight year to Charlie Postons and James Clay. Congratulations to them. We're all looking forward to a trip to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 2 weeks' time. We hope you join us there.